What's up, YouTube, and welcome to Codename Scream. I am that horror guy.
And I'm Mel.
And please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications for all things horror. We are doing our Team Chris versus Team Mel month. It's all dictated by patrons over at patreon.com/codenamescream. Every week we provide 2 films to put up against each other. The patrons get 2 days to vote for it, and then we sit here with you lovely people. So what are we starting off or doing this week?
Well, I won for the 3rd time in a row here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's besides the fact.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yep, and this one was up against Freddy versus Jason, which was my pick. Which was weird how that worked out.
And now it's Cabin Week.
And it unintentionally became Cabin Week.
It sounds like some spring break thing.
Right?
Cabin Week.
Miami, Florida.
Like something MTV would have on. It's Cabin
We're
Week.
going to get Kid Rock to play and Papa Roach.
Deftones when they sucked.
Deftones when they never did.
They weren't good live before, but now they're fantastic.
Always good.
I love you, Chino. Okay.
Back to Cabin in the Woods.
Released April 13th, 2012. Directed by Drew Goddard, written by Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, and produced by Joss Whedon.
Yep. Fun fact about those two, they were working together on Buffy and
the
Angel.
Vampire Slayer and Angel.
Yeah. So it was great to see them working together again.
Yes.
Discuss some financials for you guys. We had a budget of $30 million. Not bad. And then we pulled in at the box office $66.5 million. So again, not bad.
Over double.
Over double. And then if you adjusted that for 2021 inflation, we're looking at $79.073 million.
You struggled with
that.
Yeah,
it took me a second.
I saw your brain smoking for a second.
But so what do the critics and the audience think here?
92% on critic side, so that's
2 for 2 this week.
Yep.
Critics
Audience
like their cabins.
Yeah, they do. Audience 74%.
And that's a little higher and a little better.
Yep.
So I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of this one. This is also available on Peacock this week. It was weird how that worked out.
Yep.
So link is in the description below for you guys to check that out.
I'm just laughing because you keep saying Peacock. It's so funny. Video too is so funny.
But, Peacock. I just wanted to see what Mel would do if I said it again. So, where Mel's winning on the actual film side, I'm winning on the comedy side this week. So, I'll take the win there.
It's just the word.
Peacock.
You didn't come up with that word. It's Cabin Cock Week.
It's Peacock Week.
Okay.
Peacock's in the cabins week. But anyway, so brief synopsis on this one. We have got an underground group of people that are essentially dictating and creating what would be a horror film for everybody. Monitor the group from a roof when they're going out to the cabin that they're all staying in. They're a group of 5 friends. That was kind of weird, the whole him on the roof.
Yep.
And they've left.
Yep.
I was like, no. And then we get to see the usual tropes of the horror film, but it's from the production side, if you would, almost. They're placing bets over who's going to win and what's going to kill who, and kind of go through that whole motions there on a completely comedic side.
Yep.
And then we get to the very giant finale, which I'm not going to spoil because that was awesome.
Yes.
The entire ending was beautiful to this film. This entire film is great.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I'm getting ahead of myself here. I've been excited for this one. I was low-key wanting to lose just so we could do this one.
I high-key wanted you to lose, but...
So what do we have for fun facts?
Well, Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard wrote this whole script in 3 days, which is crazy to me. The scene that tested highest with audiences was the merman scene.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, ironically, I didn't love, but it's a whole side thing. I don't know, maybe past trauma. I'm not sure.
Probably.
The Latin that Dana reads is Dolor supervivo caro, Dolor sublimis caro, Dolor ignio anus animus.
Well, you had it until then.
It means pain outlives the flesh, pain raises the flesh, pain ignites the spirit.
Interesting.
I went to a school where they taught Latin, and I still didn't.
And you still botched it out. Good job.
Whoops. Sorry.
Whoops.
The film's original release date was postponed because the studio wanted to turn it into a 3D film.
Okay, that was... Yeah, right about then was kind of the gimmick.
Yep. And
That's coming back.
This idea was shelved, which was released to Goddard and Whedon, who didn't want any part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also wouldn't have wanted any part of that.
No, it was a stupid gimmick that was going back into the...
every 3D movie. The only one that was, like, mildly okay was My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, that one was alright.
3D, that was okay, but we don't need 3D movies.
No, we didn't want it in the 80s, and we definitely didn't want
Still
it
don't
when
want
it came
it.
back. So.
Heather Langenkamp. I read that as leg lamp. For some
Leg lamp?
reason. Heather Langenkamp, who was Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street,
Not a major award.
she was one of the makeup crew that created the monsters.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was super cool.
Nice.
Because her husband was like a big like
Special effects guy.
makeup guy.
He was on Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah, so she apparently got into it too,
Yeah.
and created some cool monsters.
That's
in
pretty
this
sweet.
movie. Yeah. None of the scenes where Jules and Kurt are in the woods were actually shot outside, which, like, that's where the $30 million budget went.
Right.
Instead of actually just going outside where it's free, they just built outside inside, which...
Well, they wanted to make it 3D. You can't make it 3D if it's really outside. So.
Well, who cares?
Hey, just saying. That's probably what happened.
This could have had $1 million budget, and instead there was like...
Let's recreate the outside.
Inside forest.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Anyway, this was actually a good idea. Drew Goddard originally wanted Bruce Campbell to play the director.
Yeah.
But he wasn't available, so he went with his second choice of Sigourney Weaver.
Fair.
I don't know. Bruce Campbell would have been cool, but he almost would have been cooler as like one of the two like idiots, you know?
Yeah, that I would have seen. Yeah, in the like
Yeah.
the Sidley and Hadley like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's almost like too goofy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And Sigourney Weaver's like very serious.
Right.
But yeah, I loved her as,
It was
director.
fantastic.
The film was originally shelved, similar to the last one, because the production studio went bankrupt.
Everyone's losing balls.
This is weird. This whole week has been weird.
Yeah, cabins, bankrupt studios.
Yep, Peacocks. Goddard and Whedon just gave up and thought the film just would never see the light of day. They were like, this is just, we wasted our time and our money.
Right.
But then Lionsgate got a hold of it, loved it, picked it up to be released, and yeah, glad they did.
Lionsgate for the win.
Yeah.
Lionsgate was what Blumhouse is doing for us now.
Yep.
So.
Blumhouse is better.
Oh yeah.
In 2015, an author by the name of Peter Gallagher filed a copyright infringement lawsuit. He claimed there were uncanny similarities between this movie and his book, The Little White Trip: A Night in the Pines. He was asking $10 million in damages, but 5 months later the lawsuit was dropped.
Yep.
Now I want to read this book, even though the
book.
stupid title, The Little White Trip: A Night in the Pines.
It'll end up being your favorite book.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. No, because I'm going to be mad because he wanted to sue the movie people. Last thing, Cabin in the Woods is included in the list of 1,001 movies you must see before you die. I think this
Again
is
with
either,
that list.
It was either our second or third.
This is our third.
Seen.
This is our
what
third.
was the one that
We had
watched?
Videodrome on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we had... I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I know there's...
Because it was one where we were like, this didn't need to be on that list.
Yeah. I can't remember. If you guys want to do some soul searching for the both of us,
Yeah, tell us
go
what
back
that
and let
was.
us know in the comments here below, because I'm just genuinely curious.
Yep.
This happens when you watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Over the course of a year, you start to kind of trip up on certain things.
Yeah.
Couple things you left out on the fun facts. So
Okay.
actually a couple of fun ones for you even.
Ooh, go ahead.
So the monsters in the cells at the end. Sorry, spoiler. I had to throw that one in there. But there was a crossover plan for the video game Left 4 Dead 2 around the time that this movie was released, that they were going to relinquish the rights of the film to Left 4 Dead 2 as a playable map.
Interesting.
But because of how everything worked on the financial side, they weren't able to do so. So Left 4 Dead 2 allowed them to use their monsters in the cells.
That's cool.
Yep,
I didn't know
that was cool. Did the cabin look familiar?
Vaguely.
It's because it's from Evil Dead and
That's
Evil Dead 2.
what
It's
I
the same
figured.
exact cabin.
Yep.
They just had to do some renovations because the original structural of the cabin was, obviously it's been there for a while.
Oh, and the basement door.
And then the basement door. Yep. Yeah, so they had to do a little bit of renovation work there to get it back, because the structure was falling apart. But yeah, that's where, because as soon as that came up, I was like, I know that cabin. That's why if Bruce Campbell had played the director, it would have been really weird.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
Have him involved.
It almost would have been cheesy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, I don't know.
But, yeah, so what did you think? Obviously, you picked it, so.
I love this movie. I've never seen anything like it when I first watched it, and I was like, this is so cool. And I've seen a few things since then like this, and I always love them. The first thing that comes to mind is there's a Black Mirror episode where there's, like, people dictating what happens to people. I won't spoil that, but it reminded me a lot of this, and I just love things that are like someone dictating what happens to people in a negative way.
Puppet Master.
Yeah. I dig that. I think it's cool. So I liked that. I love all the homages to other horror movies in this. Like, obvious, Evil Dead's the obvious one. The second that basement door flipped open, I was like, I know what's happening here. So I totally love that. There's a million other horror movies that it actually reminded me of 13 Ghosts too, with all the monsters and stuff. So it's just like, I love movies that do this. I love that this movie didn't take itself too seriously, because if this would have been a super serious movie, it would have been terrible.
Oh, it would have been awful.
So the fact that it's just kind of got that, like, goofy quality, similar to the last movie we did, Cabin Fever, it has that, like, goofy, like, it's not even like it's not comedy, because it's not funny necessarily, but it's just like a goofiness to it that I really liked. They did a book of this, like an adaptation, and I actually like the book better than the movie.
It wasn't The Little White Trip at Night in the Pines?
It wasn't. It was Cabin in the Woods. But maybe that's why he sued. He's like, book.
There's a book.
There's a book. Which is ironically what they did in this and Evil Dead. There's a book. It was just a horrible idea. But yeah, I just like the movie for the uniqueness and the homages to other movies that I love, which is why I love this movie. So, what do you think about it? Oh,
stole the words out of my mouth with a lot of that. This movie is amazing. Amazing. From the cast to the plot, the entire premise of this entire film, the special effects, you name it. There's nothing wrong with this movie.
No.
And if you don't like this movie, you're wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, point blank. I love the comedic aspect of it, because as you had said, if it had been a serious film, this movie would have been awful.
Yep.
It would have been completely different. And it was cool to see some of the actors and actresses that Joss Whedon had used previously.
Yep.
So it's cool that they kept that continuity going there. Fresh take, unlike anything I've ever seen. I think unlike anything that will ever be made. You can't really redo this movie.
Yeah, they've tried to do several things like it, and they're not really that good, except for that Black Mirror thing. Yeah. And I could tell that that's probably where they got the idea.
That was the closest thing we've gotten to this, and even still, it fell short in comparison to this. Yeah. It doesn't need a sequel. It doesn't need a remake. No. It just needs to stay as it is.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. And yeah, you can't really say much other than that. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch this one. I've watched this one the most out of anything we've covered. I've watched this one multiple times this week, because I'm like, it just gets better with every viewing. And then we get to see, young Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot he was in this movie.
I did too,
and I turned it on like yesterday or whenever I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah.
I was like, okay, he's got short hair.
Yeah. It was like the year before, wasn't it?
It was like a couple years before, I think.
This was 2012.
And I think the original Thor was maybe the year after. I don't know. Like hey, again, you guys get a moment to school us in the same video. Let us know when Thor came out.
Or we can just
Google it later, but it'll be more fun for you guys to tell us in the comments, because you're going to tell us anyway. So
no, you're wrong.
I know. But, so, what did you guys think of Cabin in the Woods? Obviously, you loved it, but tell us in the comments below. Try to leave out the spoilers as much as possible. We've kind of spoiled a little bit here and there, but just try and leave out the rest of them if you can. Save those for messages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email. And again, just because we mentioned at the beginning, join us over at patreon.com/codenamescream for only $1 a month. Everyone over there is dictating this month. We don't know what we're going to be watching next week. It's up to you guys. Poll just went up because we are shooting on a day where the poll goes up.
Yes.
So you got a couple more days until it comes down. There's some fun ones on there. A couple classics, a couple fun ones.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun because you guys are controlling it.
And you get to pick who's your favorite, me or
So
him.
far, we get it. Mel's the favorite. It's okay. I love Mel too. So with that being said, scary later, YouTube.